guys, we have great news for the OCWL. We are coming back officially for 2023 season. It's been a long time and we're very excited for the season to come. My name is Connor Wojciechowski. I'm here with co-commissioner and team manager, team captain of one of the 6 teams, Chase Cronin.
Alright, so we'll be starting off the video introducing the teams and rosters and what division they're in. So the first team in the AL is Atlantic Alligators with Connor Wojo and Dylan Kirk. The second team in the AL is the Gulf Coast Great White, and they are consisted of Austin Hubert and Hunter Motive. The last team in the AL is the Southern Stingray, and they have Caden Nelson and Anthony Backhouse.
Okay, now for the National League. First team is the Pacific Pikes. Team captain, Chase Cronin. Teammate is Bear White. Now the second team we have is the Western Warhawks, as they're returning from winning the last World Series in this league. That consists Cooper Davenport as team manager and Jack Sirica as his teammate. Third team is the Central Cardinals. Team manager is Xander Goins. Teammate is Donnie LaVisca.
AL team's strengths and weaknesses. The first team I'll be going over is the Southern Stingray. They have a bunch of weaknesses, like they're not experienced. They're probably not a good pitching team. But one of their strengths is they got a player with background with baseball, so that might translate to over to wiffle ball. And that's Anthony. So they might do good hitting, but I don't know about their pitching. Now for the second team in the AL, the Gulf Coast Great White. Some of their weaknesses is they're not used to the league. We have a bunch of different rules from their league that they're in, but they have a bunch of strengths with playing wiffle ball a lot, and both really good pitchers and good at hitting, and just overall good wiffle ball players, and they play a lot. And for the last team, the Atlantic Alligators. The Alligators have Connor Wojo, and he's one of the best players in the league, MVP and Cy Young caliber player. But then they also have Dylan on the other hand, who really hasn't played a lot, isn't that experienced, and that might be a really big weak spot and might make him lose some games because he's not that talented.
All right, now I'll be going over the NL. First team we're starting with is Pacific Pikes. Pacific Pikes, they have very good players that can hit the ball. But pitching-wise, Chase Cronin is probably the main pitcher, and at some points he could struggle. But overall, I think they'll be a pretty good team in the NL. Second team we're going over is the Western Warhawks. They overall aren't so good. 2019 season, they were pretty decent and somehow end up winning the World Series. But pitching-wise, Cooper Davenport can throw strikes. He just doesn't have much movement on his pitches. And Jack Sirica, we haven't seen enough out of him to know if he's a good or a bad player, but we'll find out opening day. And third team is the Central Cardinals. Team manager is Xander Goins. As we all know, back in 2019, he was a teammate on the Pacific Pikes, but now is a team manager of the Central Cardinals. He has his good days and bad days. He's a pretty good pitcher, depending on the day. Some days he's a fantastic pitcher. Some days he's just hideous at it. And their teammate down the LaVisca, pitching-wise, he's not really good. Hitting-wise, he can put the ball in play, but not much of a power hitter.
Now we will be doing our opening day predictions for each series. So with the first matchup of opening day, it is the Pacific Pikes versus the Central Cardinals. And this could kind of be turned into a rivalry with Xander being a former Pacific Pike. And I think it will be one of the best matchups on opening day. I think the Pacific Pike will take either 2 or 3 of the games in the series, because if the Pike can get in Xander's head early, it'll be a long day for the Cardinals. And I think the Pike can just hit off Xander if they get in his head, and he'll just start to give up, and they could easily take 3 games. With the next matchup of opening day, it is a World Series rematch between the Atlantic Alligators and the Western Warhawks. I don't think this is really going to be a competition. I think the Atlantic Alligators will sweep them just because Connor's an MVP player, and the Warhawks don't have much talent on their team. And now the last matchup of opening day is the Gulf Coast Great White and the Southern Stingray. I think this could be a close game just because um, neither of the teams are used to the league, and there is a speed limit in our league, and Austin likes to go over that sometimes. And I think that the Southern Stingray can battle a little bit, but in the end, I think they will get swept by the Gulf Coast Great White.
For opening day, our first matchup, we have the Pacific Pikes versus the Central Cardinals. I think this game would be more based off who can get the bats going. I feel like it would probably be Xander and Chase going at it all day, but I think it just depends who can get the bats going and who can get runs in. And I think maybe the Pacific Pikes will do more to get runs in, so I think the Pacific Pikes will win 2 games of that 3-game series. Next series we have is the Atlantic Alligators versus the Western Warhawks. I think it depends on who, as the first series, who can get the bats going. For Cooper's team, they're going to be able to pitch strikes, but just not get many strikeouts, so they're going to have to work to get balls in play. I think myself would be able to get the job done, and hopefully Dylan Kirk learns and gets his bat going well, and I think we can easily sweep that series. For the Gulf Coast versus Southern Stingrays, I feel like Gulf Coast has an easy sweep on their hands. I think it just depends if the Southern Stingrays can get their bats going off Austin Huber or Hunter Moda. But I think it'll be a good series, but I think the Gulf Coast Great Whites will take the sweep.
Now I will be listing who I think will be at the top, middle, and bottom of each division. First, I'll start off with the AL. At the top of the division, I think it would be the Atlantic Alligators. I think they'll get off to a hot start. They got a bunch of easy opponents to open up the year, and I think they could just keep riding their momentum all the way throughout the whole season. And second in the division, I think it would be the Gulf Coast Great White. They just got too much talent to finish last, and they have a weak opponent in their division other than the Alligators, who is a strong opponent. So I think they'll finish in second just because they'll have a slow start. And then last of the division, it would be the Southern Stingray, just because lack of experience, and I don't think their pitching would be that good. And now for the NL at the top of the division, the Pacific Pike, because I think they'll just have a few easy opponents and can just keep riding momentum all the way throughout the season. They got good hitting, and if Chase can get his pitching down and stay consistent, that they can become a top team in their division. And second, it would be the Central Cardinals. They really got no challenge besides the Pacific Pike in their division, and they have a great player in Xander. And it all depends on how Donnie does. If Donnie doesn't perform good, Xander will give up, and then they will get swept eventually. And then last, who I think the worst team in the league is, the Western Warhawks. I just think Cooper's, he's a pitcher that can throw strikes, but, he can't strike nobody out. It's kind of slow. He doesn't have any movement to it. So I think they will finish last in the division and last in the league.
Yeah, fuck. Now I'll be doing my standing predictions for the NL and AL. For the NL, I have Pacific Pikes finishing first. I feel like out of that division, Pikes have more of the power in that division. They can easily beat the other teams in the division. Besides maybe the Central Cardinals, I think they could compete for that division as well. That's why I have the Central Cardinals finishing second in that division. And then third, I have the Western Warhawks. They just don't got pitching. I think their hitting could be decent, but their pitching is a huge weakness on their team. Now for the AL, I have the Gulf Coast Great Whites winning that division. I think just by their pitching and hitting, they would be able to just finish games out, not give up many runs. They could give up some walks, and maybe teams can benefit off that and get the runs in. But I think overall their pitching is just good and their hitting is good. Second, I have the Atlantic Alligators. I think that this whole AL division could be close. But I think it just depends if me, Connor, can finish the games out with pitching, get runs in, be clutch, get home runs, get my MVP self back. And I think if I could do that, we could compete for that first place, but I have us finishing second at the moment. For third, I have the Southern Stingrays. I think since their pitching isn't really good and their hitting is good, but their pitching isn't quite what we expect it to be. I think they'll be giving up a lot of runs, so their offense might not be able to compete with that and be able to stay in games. But I think they can for sure compete. But it just depends how their pitching is in the season. Now I'll be going over my top five. I guarantee all these players in the league can compete and play at high expectations. But at number five, I have Xander Goins. I feel like he can compete for that MVP race. It just depends how his overall season is. If he's willing to compete, stay in games. So I have him at fifth. At fourth, I have Chase Croning, as he gives me a weird look. I'm at fourth because, yeah, his hitting could be good, but his pitching could be a little bit off and all that. But I have him finishing at fourth. For third, I have Hunter Motive. Hunter Motive he could be a good hitter. Pitching, sometimes he can have his ups and downs, but I think overall he's a good player, so I have him finishing at third. Second and first, I have a very close race between me and Austin Huber. I think Austin Huber, he can compete. It's just his hitting could be a little bit iffy, but his pitching is really good. So it'll be hard for me to pick me over him or put him over me. But if I would have to, not biased, but I'd probably put me at first and Austin Huber at second just by the way we could finish games and pitching wise. I think I can overall be a better pitcher than him when we use the radar, speed limit. I think I could be an overall better player than him, especially if I can get my hitting better, but that's my top five.
With my top 5 players in the league that I'll be going over them, I think all of them could compete for an MVP. But at number 5, I have the Pacific Pikes teammate Bear White. He's just an overall great hitter and fielder, and if he could be a decent closing pitcher, like be able to pitch a little bit, he will be the number 5 player in the league. But he's just really good at hitting and fielding. He'll make a bunch of plays in the outfield with pop-ups, and he's got great range. So I got him at number 5. At number 4, I have Xander Goins. He has his good days and he has his bad days, but he's a decent hitter. It's just like when he starts to give up, he becomes a bottom player in the league. But when he's not giving up and he's trying, he is a top player in the league. But I have him at 4 just because sometimes he gives up and then just like stops trying and gives up a lot of runs. Then at number 3, I have Hunter Motive. I have him at number 3 because he's a good pitcher, but like some days he just like has a down day and like can't pitch that well. He's a decent hitter, but it's just gonna be hard for him to adjust to the league and play at a high expectation that we have him at. But at number 2, I have Chase Craning. He's a good hitter, and if he becomes more consistent and is able to close out games on the mound, he will be a top player in the league. And I have him at number 2. And at number 1, I have Connor Wozo. He's probably the best player in the league right now. He just needs to get his hitting a little bit. And, if he becomes better at hitting, he will be the runaway MVP. He's a great pitcher. He can close out games most of the times. But once he gets frustrated, he will let up a lot of walks. And that's not good for him. But I have him at number 1 right now.
So for this being the 2023 season, we have a few upgrades, and we want our season to be better than all of our other seasons. Obviously, we haven't played since the 2019 season, but with us thinking about this for a long time, it's been a year thinking about if we should bring our league back or not, and with all that consideration, we decided to. So we thought maybe we need a change in our league and make our league better than ever. So I'll have Chase Croning list his favorite things that we have added to the league. But we have one surprise that we're waiting for the end of the video. So here's Chase.
So the things that I like most that we added to the league is probably our fence and the new strike zone we got, because that little blow-up strike zone or the chair, I really didn't like it. But now that we got a real strike zone, I like it. And the fence is just there so nobody can hit little line drive home runs. You actually need to elevate the ball. And then I also like how we got bases this time instead of using like cones or something. And yeah.
My favorite things about the league obviously is the surprise at the end of the video. But a few things are the fence. Yes, I didn't like how people can hit line drive home runs and they barely leave the park, but they're still home runs since it did pass the cone. And gaining bases, we had to use sometimes shoes, cones for bases, which I didn't really like, but now we have bases. We're planning on getting some foul posts, not just like not like amazing, but just get it's like some PVC pipes, just so we have a foul post to make the field a little bit more like a field, like a football field. We're planning on spray painting foul lines too, just to make it more professional. We plan on getting a rubber mound just so we know where we have to pitch from. And we are debating if we want to have a pitchers like outer box how we used to have, just to make scores not so high scoring and just so we can get more outs and all that since we are switching to 3 outs instead of 2 outs. For our big announcement for our league, we're all excited for is that we finally have jerseys. We got sick of just like wearing just t-shirts and all that, nothing like based off our team. But we thought this year, just to make our league even better, we should get jerseys. So on the count of three, we're gonna raise the first team's jerseys. And do we want to say what the jerseys are before? All right, 3, 2, 1.
It's the Western Warhawks jerseys. Kind of really like it's like a simple design, but I like it because it's an older team. And, it's just a nice simple design. The colors pop really well together, and I like it.
I think for the Western Warhawks, they're not gonna go for like they're a team that's like basic, but like their colors like just show them out. So I like just like the gray and like the lime green color. I think it fits their team very well. Just like I don't really know how to describe it. It's just I think it fits their team the best. And overall, I think it's like a cool jersey. For the second team, they're in the AL. I think these jerseys are pretty cool. So on the count of three, we'll raise them up and say what team they are. 3, 2, 1. Right here we got the Southern Stingrays. I think these jerseys like are pretty dope. I like the sleeves on the side, the lettering on the front. Obviously you can see from on this side. We got Anthony Backhouse number 14. I think these are pretty dope jerseys. They'll be one of the top jerseys in the league, I feel like. And what do you think about them?
Well, I think kind of reminds me of like a Miami Heat Vice jersey with the black and like the baby blue. And since their team is the Southern Stingray and they're down south, I feel like it kind of really fits them well based off that. And I just like how the sleeves have a little color to it and these little stripes. And I really love the font on it. And yeah.
I think it just obviously as like the Western Warhawks, I think these jerseys really well fit their team and just like their name and everything. I just think everything about it just fits them. For the third team, they're in the NO, and on the count of three, we'll raise them up. We think like it's different, but I think it's pretty like the font and coloring is like pretty cool on it. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
We got the Central Cardinals here. I really like how it's more unique than any other jersey here. It's got a nice little fade in right here from the gray to red. And I really do like the font that's on this jersey. I don't know, I just really like it. And on the back, the number stands out. Um, no, I just really love the font and the uniqueness of the jersey.
Yes, I think the uniqueness is like pretty well. I like how the colors are gray and red, obviously, and I like how it goes from a gray to a red, and I also like how the number and like the fonts and lettering on it really stand out. It's not my favorite jersey in the league, but it could totally be like running for like top jerseys in the league. I think it's more like in the middle part of like top 6 jerseys. So I think these jerseys overall are pretty cool. So for this fourth team's jersey, I think it's pretty unique, like the Central Cardinals. I think it's like unique in the same way, but in a different way also. But are you ready to show them? 3, 2, 1. We got the Gulf Coast Great Whites. I think their jerseys are pretty like unique with like a little black with like a I don't really know like what type of blue it would be, but I think like the font, the numbers, like especially on this back side, I think that just looks dope with like the lettering and stuff. And I think it's just a unique jersey, and I think I can for sure see this like fitting their team and their program and everything. What do you think?
Alright, so I really like how you got the blue on this side with the black, and it's kind of like how it fades in together at the middle. One downfall is this jersey does look really wide, but that's okay. I just like the font too. I feel like it's a pretty good, basic but unique font. I feel like every team kind of has like cursive font, and I really like that. In the back, pretty solid. It is one of I don't know where I'm gonna rank this, but
I think it'd be more like in the middle, like not like very high, but it's like all these jerseys are amazing, right? That we got, but I think this one just won't beat the top ones that we think in the league. One of our top ones is probably for sure the Southern Stingrays and Western Warhawks. But the next two we're about to show, obviously, if they don't know, the last two teams are me and Chase's team, Atlantic Alligators and Pacific Pikes. So we're really excited for those. And let's get to that. For our fifth team is obviously Chase Cronin's team, Pacific Pikes. So the last team we will do is Atlantic Alligators, but right now we're talking about the Pacific Pikes. So on three, we will show the jerseys, and Chase will give his opinions first since they are his team's jerseys. So 3, 2, 1.
so with my team's jersey, when I first saw them and ordered them, I really didn't think they'd come this good because I didn't know how the green would pop on the orange. But I really like how the green pops on the orange. I feel more confident in it. I do like the green with the black outline on the lettering. I wish it would have done it on the numbering, but I really like this jersey. It really fits our team well. All in all, the green really pops well on the orange, and that's what I like the most about it. And yeah, I think it will be one of the best jerseys in the league, non-biased.
I agree with Chase. I think these will for sure be a top jersey in the league. I like just Pacific. You think of like colors, like colory colors, like not like Miami, but Pacific. So I think this really like fits in, especially for like a fish color, like an orange and a green. I think it just fits in very well, and it's for sure one of my top favorites in the league. Maybe my favorite. For our sixth and final team is the Atlantic Alligators, my team. I think these jerseys are very unique. My team has been in the league the longest out of all the other teams. So I thought we had to go like with a unique color, like, veteran look, old style. So on the count of three, we will raise our jerseys. I'll give my opinions first, and then Chase will give his opinions second. So on the count of three, we will raise the jerseys. 3, 2, 1. We got the Atlantic Alligators. I think with like the old style and like the pinstripe like cursive. Obviously, all the jerseys have cursive lettering, but I think just the look of this jersey, it gives out like retro, and that's what I was looking for. And I think with our team being green and white, I think just the green pinstripes are a very good fit for our team, and I can't wait to rock these.
So I do think this is one of the best jerseys in the league. I really like the green on the white. Feels like it really brings out a classy look, like you said. And it is the only team with like white as their main color, and I really like how he went with the white and the green pinstripes. It really just pops well and you know gives a good look. I think it'll be one of the best jerseys in the league.
So now, since you guys got to see the jerseys, we will give our worst to first rankings on the jerseys. So for the worst one at 6, I would probably have to give the Gulf Coast Great Whites. It's just like it fits the team well, but I just like wouldn't seem like I just don't see it as a good jersey. So I put those at 6. Fifth, it's another unique one, the Central Cardinals. I just don't like. I don't go for unique. I go for like what fits the team like the best, like in their organization. So I go for those for the 5th. For the 4th, I put the Western Warhawks. I think their jerseys are very like it fits them, but it's just like I just feel like I have to put them at 4th. For 3rd, I'd probably put the Atlantic Alligators. Obviously, it fits our team very well, but I just going into the second one, Southern Stingrays. I just feel like the Southern Stingrays have like the best like coloring. They just have a better jersey than us, and I feel like our team has a good jersey, but just the Southern Stingrays have a very good jersey. Now, obviously, for number 1, I put the Pacific Pikes. I just like the pinstripe color with like the orange and the green. I just think it fits them well as an organization, and it just fits their team overall, and it's just a sick jersey in general. Now Chase with the top 6.
So with my top 6 jerseys, No question, in last place it is the Gulf Coast Great White. The jersey, it's unique, but I really don't like it that much. It's a little wide. I don't really like that about it, but I wasn't the one who picked it out. Austin picked it out, so if he doesn't like it, and Austin, if you're watching this video, you picked it out. That's not on me. Um, but yeah, I just really don't like the jersey. It's too wide. Then in fifth, with another unique jersey, it's gonna have to be the Central Cardinals. That jersey also is a little wide, and it's just like unique. But I don't know. I just feel like it's there because. And at four, I'm going with the Western Warhawks. I really love the color scheme, but it's just like too much of a basic look. But it kind of fits their team. I really do love the colors. And now at number three, I'm going with the Atlantic Alligators. It's a great jersey overall, but the two jerseys ahead of them are just better jerseys. But without like the other two teams' jerseys there, I feel like that would be a number one jersey. But the two jerseys ahead of it is just better. At number two, I am going with the Pacific Pike. I just like the green and orange together and how the green pops on it, but the jersey ahead of it, the Southern Stingray jerseys, is just better. I like it better. And as I said, number one, the Southern Stingray. I just like it better because the blue and the black really just pop well together, and then with the little white on it, I like it. So that's my rankings for the jerseys.
Now, now for the final part, we're gonna go over like how the schedule will work and all that. We will be posting the schedule out soon once we get closer to the season, so expect that on our Instagram in like the next month or so. But how the season will work. So we have two divisions of three teams, and you'll play your division team twice for two series. So that's a total of how many games? 12 games. So 12 games, two series against each team. And then from the other division, you'll play two teams in one series. So you'll play 6 games of non-division wiffle ball. And in a total, that brings you out to 18 games. So it'll be an 18-game season. Playoffs will be number one gets a bye. Second and third will play to play the number one seed to get into the World Series.
Best out of three.
Best out of three, and then best out of three, and then best out of three, and then the World Series would be best out of five.
The second team in the AL is the Gulf Coast Great Whites with Austin Hughes and Hunter Motive.
First team I'm going over is the Pacific Pikes. Chase Koenig is the team manager, and last time we had the league, they lost in the playoff game against the Western Wildcats. And